Who's ready for another fall meal? I'm going to cook a pork tenderloin today, roasted squash, roasted delicata, very tasty, roasted red pepper, and we're gonna roast our corn on the cob. A nice harvest fest for early fall meal. Now this pork tenderloin, I've already rubbed in a brown sugar and a barbecued cherry rub seasoning that I bought. I think I bought it at Sam's Club. So just a basic barbecue rub and some brown sugar and salt and pepper. Rubbed it all over. You can see it's kind of nice and wet. I'm going to roast that in the oven. But before I do so, I'm going to fire up my cast iron pan and just sear it on each side for about a minute on each side, and it'll give a little bit of a crust to that tenderloin before I put it in the casserole dish and stick it in the oven. We'll take you through step by step for each piece of our dinner today, an early harvest feast. First thing we're actually cooking is this squash. This piece of vegetable right here will actually take longer than anything else. I'm cutting it in half, scooping out the insides. It will take roughly an hour in a 400-degree oven. It makes the house smell really good. Be careful cutting this in half. Make sure you have a nice sharp knife. Make sure you watch your fingers. Put the point in. I kind of just move the knife around. Now you're left with this. Take a spoon, scoop out that inside. You're going to scoop out the inside with a spoon. Okay, we've got it all scooped out. I'm going to just take a little bit of soft butter, put it in the center of each squash, just rub it around with my fingers. You want a towel close by to wipe your fingers off. A little salt and pepper. Spray the bottom of a casserole dish with a little cooking spray. Squash goes face down in the casserole dish like that and into the oven. Just kind of peek at it in about a half an hour, see how it's doing. Maybe move it around a little bit. In 1 hour it'll be done, 400 degrees. Right, everything else we're roasting in the oven, and everything else takes about 30 to 40 minutes to cook. So once you put that squash in, you've got about 15 to 20 minutes of time where you can do some prep work or clean up from the kitchen a little bit from your prep work if you've already done so. But wait about 15 to 20 minutes before you put anything else in that oven along with the squash. We've got our tenderloin here. I'm going to throw it on that cast iron pan and sear it on both sides and then put it right back into this casserole dish. It'll sear for about a minute on each side. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, we're about to sear our pork tenderloin. Now you should hear quite a noise when you put this in the pan, a sizzling noise. If you don't hear it, your pan's not hot enough. Don't worry about burning it. You're not going to keep it on this pan much longer than, I'd say, 30 seconds. Put it down and leave it alone. 30 to 60 seconds. All right, I've gone 60 seconds on this side. Time to flip it. Oh yeah, look at that nice color. Go to the other side for another 30 to 60 seconds. Just kind of feel it out. If you feel like it needs a little bit longer than that, let it go a little bit longer. Not too much longer than a minute though. And then after this minute, we're taking it off and putting it into the casserole dish because it's nowhere near cooked through here. It has to go in the oven for about a half an hour. All right, we took that pork tenderloin out of the cast iron pan. Now I've got it in our casserole dish, just resting before I put it in the oven. I'm actually going to cook some vegetables in the same pan as the tenderloin. Roasted red pepper, and then this is it's called a delicata type of squash, and I'm going to cut the stem off, cut it out lengthwise, and slice it up into half moons. And we'll toss it with some honey, extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper, and we'll put it around this tenderloin to roast in the oven alongside of it. Let's get started. Right down the center. Like this. Take a spoon, you're gonna scoop out those seeds. I'm gonna clean the entire countertop here, so I'm scraping directly onto the countertop. You could also do this outside, just leave it on the ground. All right, we've got it all scooped out. Just put them side by side like this. Take your knife, cut them into about, I'd say close to a ½ an inch wide. Good sharp knife, all you'll need to do is apply just a little bit of pressure. Careful of your thumb and your forefinger as you get near the end. This is what you end up with. We'll put them in this mixing bowl. And add a little olive oil, salt and pepper. And a little honey. The lady at the farmer's market today sold me this, told me about using honey. Sometimes they use maple syrup, so I've never done it with honey. See how it tastes. I'm sure it'll be good. Mix it up. It already has a nice shiny color, and it smells great with that honey. We're just gonna sprinkle it in, right around next to this tenderloin. The honey actually will probably seep its way into that tenderloin to give it some flavor. All right, we're gonna cut up this red pepper, and we're just going to put that, kind of rough chop it up, and sprinkle it around on top of that delicata squash. Don't worry about the red pepper if you don't get all the seeds out. They won't hurt you, and it's not hot at all. These red peppers are actually sweet. Just going to drop this in. That's what it looks like. We're putting this into the oven for 35 minutes, uncovered. Keep an eye on it. Every 10-15 minutes or so, take a little peek at it. Just see if anything's burning. It shouldn't though. So we're going into the oven, like I said, at 400 degrees, 35 minutes. We're gonna take it out and let it rest for 15 minutes before we slice into that tenderloin. Let all those juices just kind of seep into the meat. Into the oven we go. Now I'm doing something I've never done. I'm gonna cook the corn on the cob in the oven. I've done corn a lot of different ways. Years and years ago, 20 or 30 years ago, I would husk it all and we'd boil it in water. Well, we haven't done that in a long, long time. We have learned to grill it on the gas grill or charcoal grill with the husk on. We've husked it and put the corn on the cob directly on the grill and moved it around like that. It takes about a ½ hour. I've never put it directly into the oven in the husk. I'm going to do it today so I can keep everything cooking in the same area. All I'm gonna do is cut off the bottom of this and some of the long leaves that are on it, just so they don't fall down to the bottom of the oven. And this little hair at the top, cut that off so I leave my husk. What that husk will do, the reason I'm cooking it in the husk is I don't know how long everything actually is going to take. Some of this is trial by error. So I can take this corn out when it's done and just let it rest, and it'll stay nice and warm, continuing to steam inside of its own husk until we're ready to eat it. You just have to be careful when you husk it when it comes out of the oven, because it'll be really hot. Could be steamy. You'll want to have a towel or some oven mitts or something to hold onto it, because it'll be too hot for your hands. All right, these are going directly on the oven rack. Again, 400 degrees. These will probably take about a half an hour. I'll take them out and just let them rest here on the countertop on a cutting board. All right, we've got some cleaning up to do. I'll get everything cleaned up. I'll wash up all the prep dishes. I'll get the table set for dinner, because really all I'm doing right now is just waiting for that oven to do its thing and cook all this food for me. And we'll come back and we'll show you how we dish it out on plates and display it on a platter. It already smells good in the house. A nice fall flavor. It's a little bit cooler outside today, but with that oven going at 400 degrees, it's hot in this kitchen. So I'm gonna get a cold beverage and clean up. We'll be back in about a half hour. All right, everything is done. At this point, we're just letting the pork tenderloin rest. I've got the squash that's resting. The corn on the cob is out and it is hot. So I'm holding it, you can see, with this thick oven glove and peeling the husk off with my other hand. Look how easily that comes off after being in the oven for so long. It smells good. I haven't put anything on this. I'll let everyone put the butter and salt on that they want, or whatever else they want to put on this. We get it right here. Snap it off. It's really hot to your fingers. So I'm going to do the rest of the corn, get them in this pan, this platter, and by the time I get this done, the pork will be ready to slice up into little medallions. I'll have the squash scooped out onto a platter, and we should be ready to eat here soon. So I'll be right back. And this is what that squash looks like. That's the one that I cored out and put a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper on the inside. It actually smells like it smells so sweet, it smells like candy. So I'm gonna take a knife, and all we're doing is cutting this up into little wedges, and people can take whatever they want. They don't eat the skin, but it's easier to keep the skin on, just so it doesn't, it just kind of keeps its form on the plate. Here's that delicata squash with the roasted red pepper that I roasted right into the same pan as the tenderloin. It smells so good. Now this type of squash, you can eat the skin on it. Oh, that's good. That's the one that I mixed the honey with. Tastes great. All right, the moment we've been waiting for. I'm gonna cut into this tenderloin. It's nice and easy. We'll cut a few pieces and we'll let you see what it looks like. Now when you're cutting this, you don't want to make any announcement to anybody in the house, because they might come out and start eating it. You want to save all that tasty, the little, the special tasters. You want that all to yourself. So I'm not telling anybody that's in the house right now that I'm doing this. Check that out. That's a beautiful piece, a beautiful medallion of a pork tenderloin. Sometimes I like the ends of it. They're a little bit burnt on the end, a little extra flavor. Came out nice and tender, flavorful, a little smoky. This is good. All right, give me a couple minutes. I'll get the plates plated up. We'll be ready to eat. there is our dinner. Got the squash, pork medallions, corn, and that other squash and pepper mix. Looks and smells delicious. I'm ready to dig in here. Remember, presentation also counts when you're cooking. You eat with more than your eyes. And also, it's good to have a puppy dog around to lick up all the little scraps that fall on the floor. So here's Jax and Gus, my helpers for today. They don't want to say, oh, there's Gus. He's wanting to say hi for a second. But they've been licking the floor because I've dropped a lot.
About to eat. Yet again, Mother does not want to participate in the production. She is participating in the eating. So, here's the pork. That's good. Let's try this squash here. Coming right out of that skin. Perfect. Perfect. Pepper. Nice and sweet. It's really a fall meal. Remember, everything was cooked in the oven at 400 degrees. From start to finish in the oven, it was 60 minutes. Less than 60 minutes. Take everything out, and I did let it rest on the counter here for about 15 minutes. So you're talking a total of 75 minutes once you put the first item in the oven. Plenty of time to clean the kitchen, rest up, and get your table set for dinner. So, hey, if you like this, check out our YouTube page for other tasty recipes.